It's amazing that they've taken this cartoon character villain, North Korea, and now this is their big boogeyman. I mean, now it seems that they're lumping in China, Iran, and Russia because people just aren't believing it. They've been saying it's North Korea for 3 weeks, even though the FBI said there was no evidence of that. But even if you look at the actual the language in those messages, those threatening messages, people have studied it and said, this just looks like an English person who's deliberately trying to sound Korean. Yeah. Because what you would expect to see if English wasn't their first language and they were from North Korea would be something akin to what they call Konglish, but it's not. It's like an English speaker that's pretending to be bad at writing English. It's that transparent. It's like the anthrax notes. It's so transparent that they can't even get the language right.
I wonder if anybody has checked Newt Gingrich or Lindsey Graham's computers to see if they've got the emails on their computers. if it's coming from that GOP. Paul, one of the things that came out in these emails, besides the fact that they were dismissing it as just typical North Korean bullying, that was a quote from one of their emails. Besides that, the Daily Beast reports that there were several emails going back and forth between the State Department as well as a Rand Corporation consultant, an expert in North Korea. They say the claim that the State Department played an active role in the decision to include the film's gruesome death scene is likely to cause fury in North Korea, but they said emails appear to suggest U.S. government may have supported the notion that the interview would be useful propaganda against the North Korean regime. Now, this is what the Rand Corporation guy said. He said, I've briefed in my book, Preparing for the Possibility of North Korean Collapse. I've been clear that the assassination of Kim Jong-un is the most likely path to a collapse of the North Korean government. He said, I believe a story that talks about the removal of the Kim family regime and the creation of a new government by the North Korean people, well, at least the elites, will start some real thinking in South Korea. And I believe that in the North, once the DVD leaks into the North, which it almost certainly will, I would personally prefer to leave the ending alone. So here you've got a picture of this guy from the Rand Corporation, and again, the State Department concurred with that. And what they're doing is they're using this absurdist comedy as we view it. We say, oh, this is just a parody, it's an over-the-top parody of something. They understand that it can be used for predictive programming purposes. They understand it can be used for propaganda, and they are seriously analyzing this. And I would say, Paul, what does that tell us about this same studio that produced Zero Dark 30 as a propaganda piece? We need to understand, it's pretty blatant and obvious in that piece, but we need to understand that Hollywood is doing this to us in every movie, even a silly Seth Rogen comedy.
Well, we know for a fact the Hollywood Pentagon industrial complex, the Pentagon has to sign off on scripts.
Yes.
For these films to even get made, for them to rent the military bases, the helicopters. They're in direct contact with the Pentagon for these big movies at every step of the way. That's not a conspiracy theory. In fact, the Pentagon brags about it on their own website. And then we had a situation a few years ago with Red Dawn, where they didn't seem to be so concerned about portraying North Korea in a negative light then, because of course the original story in the remake of Red Dawn was for the Chinese to invade America. They were concerned that that would hurt the market in China, so they changed the enemy to North Korea. So then the plot was based around a North Korean invasion of America. That was, I believe, maybe 2010, around that time. There was no concern then about upsetting North Korea, and now suddenly they're all panicked that this film could upset North Korea. And I mean, who within Sony made that decision to pull the film? Would they have really made that decision if this was North Korea that was responsible for this hack attack?
I think it's amazing that they pulled this South Park comedy Team America because it had portrayed Kim Jong-un's father in that movie. I guess they're going to pull Red Dawn as well because you know, they held it up for a year because the Chinese didn't like it, and now I guess if the North Koreans don't like it, that can't be shown at the movie theaters anymore. This is a 10-year-old movie with puppets, and they were going to screen it at the Alamo Drafthouse Center here in Austin and other locations throughout Texas, and they had that pulled by Paramount. Said,
soon every country will be in complete chaos.
There he is. There's a clip.
Save the world from falling apart.
And so you see, the new world is inevitable.
It's what?
Inevitable.
One more time?
Inevitable. Things are inevitably going to change.
Yeah, things are inevitably going to change. The subtitle of that was "Freedom is hanging by a thread. They're all puppets." But the reality is that freedom really is hanging by a thread. We've narrowly defeated these attacks on free speech and the internet before, and they're going to use this as a pretense to bring it back.
Yeah, and the key article that people need to read is Project Goliath, Inside Hollywood's Secret War Against Google. That documents how desperate they are to reanimate the dead corpse of SOPA, to get these so-called copyright violators in prison, to get the websites taken down on a whim. And this hack is going to grease the skids for that exact thing, which is why Sony and these other big studios are only going to benefit from this in the long run.
And they have a financial incentive, not just the pressure, but the access to politicians, the access to markets, the access to the equipment, as you pointed out. When they did Top Gun, that was only really possible for Paramount because they had the cooperation of the military, letting them use their planes to get footage. Otherwise, they would have not been able to pull that movie off, or it would have cost them a fortune. We're going to be right back with Paul Joseph Watson. Stay with us.
This hour of GCN programming is proudly sponsored by BlockitPocket.com. Protect your privacy and data and render your phone or device completely undetectable. Go under the radar when your phone's not in use with BlockitPocket.com.
Hi, Ted Anderson with Midas Resources. Is it time to convert paper 401ks and IRAs to solid gold and silver yet? Get our 10 Reasons book free. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Hey, Boomer! I learned in school today that 60% of our bodies are made of water. Good thing we have the Berkey system. It's the cleanest, best water ever. Mom says it's because the Berkey's filtration system cleans out the bad stuff and leaves only pure, delicious water. I know, right? You love it too. Yeah, I'm thirsty too. Let's go get some. Get Berkey clean water by calling 877-886-3653. That's 877-886-3653. Or visit GoBerkey.com.
Hi, folks. Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his two-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage, or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex.
This is a serious topic for all men. Every single man listening may have a prostate problem if he lives long enough. That's right. All of us men may suffer from a prostate problem, like urinating more often, waking at night to urinate, or problems with intimacy. That's why every man needs to call for a free bottle of Super Beta Prostate, a non-prescription formula guaranteed to reduce the symptoms of your enlarged prostate. It's free. Pay only shipping and handling. Just call 1-800-964-7470. Prostate problems may not be an issue of if. They can be an issue of when. Super Beta Prostate's ingredient is clinically shown to reduce urges to urinate, reduce waking at night to go, and help improve intimacy. Call for your free bottle. Just call 1-800-964-7470. That's 1-800-964-7470. Call 1-800-964-7470.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight in Austin, and joining me now is Paul Joseph Watson from the UK. We've been talking about the ramifications of the Sony emails being hacked purportedly by the Guardians of Peace, the GOP. And now we see the Guardians of Peace, GOP, like Newt Gingrich and Lindsey Graham and John McCain and Mike McCall, all pushing for revival of CISPA. We're told by the White House, another Guardian of Peace, that the Sony hack is a matter of national security. It is a serious national security, said White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest. He earnestly is telling us lies yet again. Emails that have leaked is not just gossip about various stars. We also have emails that have been leaked that show a communication going back and forth to the State Department saying that they don't take any of these threats seriously a few months ago. Now it is a matter of national security, these threats, and the fact that they got these threats. We also see emails leaked that say that they're consciously leaving in the explicit assassination of Kim Jong-un in order to plant in the minds of the people of South Korea and North Korea eventually that they maybe ought to get rid of this guy. So even a silly comedy like that, Hollywood is calculating how they can shape public opinion as a piece of propaganda. Paul, your comments.
Yeah, we've seen that before. Now that the latest news is that the hackers have said if they don't release this movie, they will stand down, and that's it. The whole situation will be over. So again, I just put up an article saying that this is almost certainly an inside job. Sony is going to lose tens of millions of dollars over the piracy of this film, but the cost to the economy in general of piracy per year is about $250 billion compared to tens of millions that Sony's going to lose in this instance. So if you look at the financial motive of this, if it greases the skids for SOPA to be reanimated, then it's going to make a lot of people a lot of money. And then if you look at what the actual analysts who have looked into this have said, for example, Mark W. Rogers, security expert, quote, "It's clear from the hard-coded paths and passwords in the malware that whoever wrote it had extensive knowledge of Sony's internal architecture and access to key passwords."
Exactly.
And then Sony executives themselves told TMZ, "We are told by people at Sony," this is TMZ, "who are investigating, believe the hackers had intimate knowledge of mail systems and their configurations. They also believe the hackers have knowledge of the internal media distribution systems and the internal IT systems, including human resources and payroll." So every shred of evidence suggests that this was an insider behind this attack, yet now Obama and the FBI are going to come out and blame North Korea, Iran, China, and Russia. Again, extrapolating it, David, into a more broader sense, this new Cold War that we've had going on for months now. We've got the attack on Russia, the financial attack, the collapse of the ruble, Russia's closer alliance with China. Again, this is about the unipolar world versus the multipolar world. It's all part of that wider Cold War offensive against Russia and China.
And again, you've got our guardian of peace, Newt Gingrich, saying this is an act of war and we need to hunt them down. He said, we've had our first battle in the cyber war and we've lost. And so I guess from his standpoint, I don't know, maybe he wants to go even further than all-out control and censorship of the internet. Maybe he wants to have an actual shooting war. They can use this as a pretense because we see one incredibly ridiculous pretense after the other. I just think it's amazing to see how many different ways they can spook the American people. And now we've got a silly little virtual false flag attack that they're trying to trump up into new legislation, a new paradigm, taking away our freedoms yet again. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. We're going to hopefully connect with Alex Jones in the next hour. He's on the road, and we've got a lot of news nevertheless, and we have our reporters in Washington State we're going to be talking to, Joe Biggs and Dermot Breen. They're covering what's happening with the police.
GCN.
Stay with us.
Visit GCNlive.com today.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.